Donald Trump's tariffs have crushed the economy, and honestly, it's hard to think of a more disastrous economic policy from any president. I mean, this is just pure stupidity. A move so moronic, it makes you wonder how anyone ever thought it was a good idea. But here's the twist. What's really surprising is that now, even some of his most loyal Republican stooges are starting to turn on him. And it gets even juicier. Byron Donalds, one of Trump's top defenders, tried to back up these tariffs, and the second he was caught in a lie, he completely crumbled and started attacking the host who called him out. Talk about a meltdown. We're gonna dive into all of this, but before we get into the details, do me a favor, smash that like button, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe. It really helps us out and means the world to me. Now, let's check out one of the most disingenuous Republicans out there, Byron Donalds, getting absolutely called out
about how they go forward, especially when it comes to the economy, because if you look at this, if you were in a different district that wasn't so strongly red, there may be a problem for other Republicans seeing how much money was raised by one of the Democratic candidates and seeing how the numbers shrunk so much. You don't see that at all?
No, I don't, because again, you have the Democrats who have had no victories at all in the last couple of months, until last night in Wisconsin. In Florida, once again, you demonstrated the strength of Republican districts. Republican voters got to the polls. You have to understand a special election is far more about turnout than it is about mood, because you don't have the level of turnout across the electorate like you do in a presidential election or even in a midterm election. So if there's any lesson learned for Republicans, it's making sure that you have your get out the vote operations ready to go in these special elections. What that means for the midterms is we have to make sure we're on the ground getting our voters to the polls the way obviously the Democrats raising tens of millions of dollars for these races did for their elections, because they need something to glom onto. They tried to find a way to shift the House majority. They failed last night, and we're going to be focused on the agenda of President Trump, the same agenda that the American people voted for last November. So I would say to some of my Republican colleagues who are looking at this data and might be a little skittish, all this proves is make sure you're on the ground getting people to the polls. And here in Washington, let's actually get the agenda accomplished so that President Trump can sign it into law and so the American economy can flourish going forward into the future.
Speaking of the economy, there are a lot of jitters on Wall Street. You have seen the numbers. They have tanked several days in a row, worrying about these tariffs, and they're going down right now. The Dow futures right now is down. Do you want to see more specifics first before you assure Florida voters on how Donald Trump's decision on tariffs will impact them?
Well, listen, the president's been very clear. Today is the day he's going to come out with his package on tariff policy. What markets and what business leaders want more than anything else is just to know what it is. So in the markets, what you're really seeing is uncertainty around the fact that they don't know how the president is going to change tariff policy. Let's go back to his first administration. There was the same type of talk about tariffs. The Biden administration didn't change virtually anything associated with the tariff policy of Donald Trump. And the reason why is because what the president is making sure is that we have manufacturing in our country, that we actually have domestic supplies in our country, that people actually have high-paying jobs here in America associated with those industries, as opposed to just onshoring everything from Asia, which if you go back to COVID-19 was not in the best interest of the United States. And then after that point, we have to move to a sound footing in our economy based upon real incentive structures and real private sector growth. We cannot continue the Obama-Biden ways of just subsidizing industries and increasing federal spending, which destroys purchasing power for the American people and is not sustainable. The way you do that is bring industries back to the United States and allow the American people to be a part of the economic engine, as opposed to just getting cheap goods, but not having the necessary jobs in return in order to sustain themselves and to have a sustainable, growing American economy. That's what we're going to accomplish. Now, the markets might be a little skittish in the interim, but over the long term, we will stabilize out and we'll have a better foundation for our economy into the future.
Are you okay, though, with people feeling pain, They voted Donald Trump in because they were tired of dealing with the inflation that was there during the Biden administration. Are you okay with your constituents feeling more pressure and more pain when it comes to the economy as these tariffs are put in place, and then the retaliatory tariffs are also put in place? Are you okay with pain being on their shoulders for a while as this all gets worked out?
Nobody wants pain for their constituents. I don't want pain for the people of Florida.
But Donald Trump said there will be some pain and disruptions.
Hold on. But you are making an assumption without knowing the details.
I'm not making the assumption. Donald Trump himself said there was pain and disruption that was going to happen.
You're making an assumption. You are making an assumption, an economic assumption right now. Let's be very clear. The real pain economically has been the massive inflation coming from bloated overspending here in Washington, D.C. That is the real pain that the American people have felt the last 4 years. Well, what President Trump is trying to do now is bring industries back to the United States. So it's not so much pain. You might have some temporary adjustments in our economy, but that is for the growth of the American economy long term.
Donald Trump himself warned that pain and disruption were coming. But let's break this down for a second. What kind of pain are we really talking about here? The real pain the American people have been feeling comes from inflation, which is tied directly to the massive overspending in Washington, D.C. over the past few years. That's the pain we're dealing with right now, not just these tariffs. Now, Trump claims he's trying to bring industries back to the U.S., but let's not kid ourselves. The tariffs, sure, they might cause some short-term adjustments in the economy, but the truth is, they're a long-term burden on American consumers. And let's be clear, Trump doesn't care. He's already admitted that there will be pain involved with these tariffs. He's okay with it. Why? Because Trump and his billionaire friends aren't the ones hurting. They're getting richer while the rest of us suffer. That's the heart of the matter. Trump doesn't have to worry. He's already rich. So are the people running our government. They're sitting pretty while we're left holding the bag. But here's the real kicker. Trump likes to pretend he's the toughest guy in the room. But who is he actually targeting? Penguins. Yes, you heard that right, penguins. While he's dodging real threats like Putin, he's slapping tariffs on the cutest, most harmless creatures. Rachel Maddow broke this story down beautifully, and trust me, it's worth hearing.
Are you tired of all the winning yet? Are you enjoying all of the greatness? May I introduce you to Tokelau? Tokelau is 3 teeny tiny islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's our best approximation on our mapping software here at MSNBC HQ. Tokelau, again, it's 3 islands. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. About 1,500 people live there. One of the 3 islands that makes up Tokelau is apparently known for its famous swimming pigs. As for its economy, Tokelau kind of doesn't register on any international scale of economic measures because Tokelau doesn't really have much of an economy. It's basically subsistence, agriculture, and fishing, and, enjoying the swimming pigs. Donald Trump just imposed an across-the-board, no exceptions, 10% tariff on Tokelau. Take that, Tokelau bandits. You will screw over the United States of America no longer. May I also introduce you to the Keeling Islands. Keeling Islands are roughly halfway between Australia and Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. Keeling Islands is 27 islands, but 25 of them are uninhabited. Several of those uninhabited islands have a real plastic trash problem, but that is not because anybody lives there, but because plastic trash from other countries makes its way across the Indian Ocean and washes up there. The 2 islands of the Keeling Islands that are inhabited out of the 27 islands there, those 2 inhabited islands have a total population of 593 people. Well, Donald Trump just declared trade war on the Keeling Islands. All 593 Keeling Islanders will now be hit with an American government 10% tariff that will apply to, anything they might ever want to export here to us. Make it here, Keeling Islands, if you're going to make it. May I introduce you to Jan Mayen Island. It is a volcano, a volcanic island mostly covered in glaciers hundreds of miles from anything else in the Arctic Ocean. Jan Mayen, I think that's how you say it. It does have an airstrip, but nobody lives there. Population 0 humans, many polar bears. That said, rest assured, we, the American people, are now protected from the predatory economic piracy of that uninhabited island. Thanks to our genius strongman ruler who has put the American government to work, Donald Trump has just slapped a 10% tariff on Jan Mayen Island, just in case anyone ever moves up there and tries to screw us over with their Jan Mayen Island underpriced exports and stuff. On the other end of the world, there's Heard, H-E-A-R-D, Heard Island, and also McDonald Island. They're in Antarctica. They are only reachable by boat, and it takes 2 weeks by sea to get there from Australia. Heard and, what's the other one? McDonald Island, sorry. Heard and McDonald Island, I know I don't have to apologize. I'm not offending anybody. They're totally uninhabited, both of them. They're also active volcanoes, so even if you wanted to move there, even the penguins might caution you, right? But they're active volcanoes, one on each island, on both Heard and McDonald Islands. I will say those volcanoes and the penguins and seals who live there, they will never menace the American economy again as they have in the past by flooding us with their cheap exports of what, like fresh air, cool breezes, a waft of eau de penguin? I don't know. What do they send us? The uninhabited Antarctic volcanoes of Heard and McDonald Islands were just slapped by Donald Trump today with a steep 10% tariff. Are you tired of all the winning, America? Can you just feel the practical economic benefits that MAGA leadership is bringing to us at last? Isn't it a relief? Agence France Presse picked up on another one of these as well. This is super genius. Quote, Britain's Falkland Islands, population 3,200 people and around 1 million penguins, got particular punishment from Trump's tariffs today. Quote, the South Atlantic territory was walloped with tariffs of not 10%, but 41% on exports to the United States. 41% tariff on the Falkland Islands because, yeah. Our president waited until late in the day to announce these genius tariffs today. He waited specifically until just after 4 p.m. Eastern time because the financial markets close at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and he didn't want to see that reaction in real time.
Today,
getting tough on penguins before getting tough on Putin. And this is the guy we have as president? What a joke. Seriously, it's almost unbelievable. But then again, it's Donald Trump. This is what we have to call out every single day. And trust me, we'll be doing it right here on this show. If you want to keep up with all the chaos, make sure to subscribe, drop a like on this video, and if you made it to the end, show some love with a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.